Hi guys, welcome back to this HTML and CSS. Like I said in the previous video, CSS is cascading styling sheet, and CSS syntax includes selectors, properties, values, declarations, declaration blocks, rule sets, at rules, and statements. Now, a selector is a code snippet which is used to identify the web page elements or elements that are to be affected by the style. So this, which we have here, this code block here, is what we can call a selector. Now, the other things that are inside of these are the properties and values which are assigned to this selector. So we're just going to move on from here. We want to make sure that this web page is what a user can actually relate with. So we're just going to continue from the CSS, from where we stopped in the CSS file. Now, before we continue on the CSS, let's just add some other links to our navigation bar. We're just going to add some more links. Right now we have only the home page, and we have the About Us page. But we just want to add some more links so that we can have a page that is at least you know 2 or 3 more links. And here we have a drop-down menu for the home page, and here we have a single menu, and here we want to create a kind of a special button. So we're giving it a class of Get Started, which is going to be our sign-up page for users who want to sign up to our website. So if we save this and then we go to our browser and we refresh, you see that we have sort of a scattered, it's not ordered. We have a list of menus that is not ordered. So how do we make this what we really want? So let's go back to our code, to our IDE, and then let's try to bring up something that will be visually appealing to our users. So just like the full stop, you can reference IDs through the hashtag. So here we want to reference the NavBar class. So we're going to use the full stop for referencing the NavBar, and we're just going to continue referencing the tags which we have from our HTML file. And I want you to just follow along. I want you to feel free to play around with your CSS. It's a good thing if you can play around, because it's going to give you much more confidence, and you're going to get much more familiar with what we're trying to build here. So I'm going to give this a line height, and the line height is just going to be 0. And I'm going to give it a margin. So it's going to be a left margin left. I just want it to be 5 pixels. We're trying to come up with something that's going to be appealing to users. So I'm going to reference the A. And over means what's going to happen when the cursor is placed on that link. What the behavior of the link should be when your cursor is placed over it. That is the over option. And here we have focus, NavBar, and we're referencing the L high, the list, and then we have over again, over. And then let's just give it a color. Let's give it a color of, I told you not to bother yourself about, on the color codes. You're going to get used to the color codes as time goes on. Sorry, I have double dots here. It ought to be just 1. So, NavBar. And now I want to reference the get started, which we just added in the HTML here. If you look here, you will see that this is a class. So I told you that you can reference a class with this dot. So I'm referencing the NavBar, and inside the NavBar we have the get started class, and then we're just going to reference the NavBar again and the get started. Sorry, it's like I'm not used to spelling too much. All right, so we're just going to go padding. I want to give it a padding of 6 pixels and 25 pixels. I'm going to give it a margin to the left, 30 pixels. I'm going to give it a border radius of 50 pixels. I'm going to give it a color. I'm just going to use, I'm used to color codes, so I'm going to drop a link in the description below for you to check out color codes and how you can actually get used to color codes. Now, here I'm defining 3 parameters or 3 properties or values for this property. 3 values for this property, which is the border should be 2 pixels thick and it should be solid, not dotted or whatever. And I'm going to define the color, which I'm just going to use the same color as the field color. I don't want the border to be different from the field. Okay, so I'm just going to say, now that we have defined the focus, let us define also the over. Like when the mouse is on that button, what should happen? So we're going to define the over here, and we're going to say NavBar again. Now we're going to say get started. Now over. This is the reaction. This is what we're going to get when we over on that get started class. So it's going to be focus and then over. Okay. So we're going to say color. The color should do what the color should change. And we're going to say white. Let's just say white color. And then let's say the background. Background could be any color which you want, but I'm going to use like a dark blue or something. So let me say that should give us a good blue, and then I'm going to say the border. The border should be 1 pixel here, and it should be solid, and it should be the same color as this. So I'm just going to copy this color here. I'm just going to place it as a 3rd value. And then let's say, what else can we say? Let's address the drop down here. This drop down. But before then, if we save this, and then we'll go back to our browser, you will see that we're going to get a change. You see now that this button, the get started, has changed. You see that? So that is the power of CSS. So let's go back to our IDE, and then let's address this drop down. So let's just say, to address the drop down, again we'll reference the NavBar, and then we will say drop down. You know, the drop down is in the UL, is in this UL. So we have to address the UL. You get it? This is the UL here. This is the drop down. It's in the LI. So we have to address the UL. So drop down UL should be, what do we give it? Let's say display. It's going to be block. You see, you have a lot of options for the display. So the display should be block. And then after the display, we're going to say that the position should be absolute. Let's say position should be absolute position. You could play around with the position also. It's very good for you to play around with the position because you're going to get used to it as time goes on. And then I'm going to calculate the top. The top, I'm going to say calc. And if I say calc, the top should be 100% plus, I'm going to add 30 pixels only. You get it? And I could say margin. Margin could be 0. And I could say padding also. Padding could be 10 pixels by 0. And I want this drop down to be on top of every other thing. So I'm going to say Z index should be 99. Z index gives it the opportunity to be seen no matter what happens. It's going to make it so obvious. So it's going to bring it to the top. Then the visibility should be hidden at first. Okay? And then we're going to say the background. The background could be that same color which we used for our get started button. And then I could say box shadow. I want the box shadow because it's a kind of effect. So I'm just going to give it pixel switch, and then I'm going to have the RGBA. The RGBA is for colors also. So when you get used to colors, you're going to know more about RGBA and CYMK. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I don't want to go deep into all of those. Let's just scratch the surface for you to get used or acquainted with CSS and HTML first before you start to transition into colors and color codes. So I'm just going to say 3.0 seconds. I want it to be a fast transition. And then I want the border radius to be 10 pixels by 30 pixels. We could make it different or whatever we want, but let's just test this first. But before we go test it in our browser, I'm just going to add the NavBar and the drop down. I want to address the li now, UI li, and then we say the first thing which I'm going to address here is the size of the drop down. So I'm going to say minimum width. Let's just give it 180 pixel. Okay, and then we could say 180 pixel. What else can we address? Let's address the link, the href. So we're going to say navbar, and then we could say drop down, and then UL A. I'm going to say padding here. Padding will be 10 pixel by 20 pixel. And then I'm going to say the font size will be 12 pixel or 14. You can make it whatever you like. I just want to put it as 12. Let's say color could be, let's say white because of the background stuff which we have. And let's say text transform. I'm going to put it to none. I don't want any text transformation. So the next thing I would like to do is address another tag element on the drop down, and I'm going to say UL A I. Now the I stands for italics. We talked about that during the HTML class which we had. So here, let me make this 14 pixels, so this could be 12 pixels. And then what else can we address? Let's address it when we hover on the button. But before then, let's save this and let's try to check what we have in our browser. You can see that the services are service. What we have under the service is now hidden because we made it hidden. here, we made the visibility hidden, so it's now even better. Like we now have the drop down menu, and we have the get started tab, or the get started button. So now let's come to the body of our web page. Let's say that the NavBar is looking a bit good now, so we can take a step further. Let's come to the body, and let's try to do some things in the body. So the first thing I want to do inside of the body tag, before we even write any code for the body tag, is let's just try to define some section for the body. So I'm going to make a comment here, and then I'll just call this, let's say, hero section. Let's say hero section, and then I'm just going to reference this by an ID. So I would say hero, and I would say the width should be 100. Height, I'm going to use something different here, 100. So if you look at the height, you see that it's not in percentage or in pixel, it's in vertical height. So that's how I'm going to reference the height for now. And then let's say that we should reference the container. Now in HTML and CSS, if you want to make your web page look good, you should learn how to work with divs. Divs are very important, and divs gives you freedom to work with containers and a host of other features which we'll be looking at as time goes on in the course of this tutorial. So here I'm referencing all of these with IDs. Only these come to the class. The others here are with IDs. I'm referencing them by their ID. So I'm going to define a margin for my H1. And I'm going to put the margin at 0 for now. I would say the font size for my H1 should be 45 pixels. Font weight should be 800. The color, let's make the color something a little bit different from what we've been using previously. Let's just keep it this way for now. Then letter spacing. The letter spacing gives each letter space in between. And let's say the font family too. Let's set the font family to be Poppins. And like I always do, just call the group, and afterwards we could actually still reference the hero again, because we're not done with it. There are a number of items we're going to use in the hero section, so let's just reference it at a time. Let's reference all of them at a time. It's not going to take much of our time. Now we are really based on CSS, and I want you to follow along and understand this concept. Okay. Font size, let's keep this at 40 pixels since the H1 is 45. And then let's call it again hero. And this time it's going to be the URL link which we'll be using. And let's say margin. The margin top should be 15 pixels. Let's say restyle. Restyle should be none. And then let's say the padding should be 0 for now. When we see how it looks, we could actually come back to, try to make some changes or some amendments. But for now, for the sake of what we want to achieve, let's just keep it simple for now. So I'm going to put this 28, and then I'm just going to say position should be relative, and the font weight should be bold, you know. We want it to be very visible. So, and then let's reference, we're still going to use, let's reference get started button. We're going to use the get started button here and some few other elements. So let's say L1 high. In case we want to use something italic, let's define the left to be 0. Let's say the top should be 8 pixels. Font weight should be bold. Position should be absolute, yeah. And then the font size, let's make that 20 pixels for now. And let's say the color, let's just use something we're familiar with, okay? So, we can actually try out the arrow section here and see what we're going to get, okay? So, I want us to include the body. I want us to include an image in the arrow section, okay? I've downloaded an image from the internet, which I would like us to use in the arrow section, but now we've not included that image right in our images folder. Now we only have the favicon and this image. I don't want here now. So the both images which we'll be using is changed. So we have this favicon now that is similar to a travel site. I think this looks better than the previous one. So, and the color also, like we have almost a similar color with the color we are using in our CSS, but we are not done yet. Let's just keep up the good work. Let's create a button for our arrow page. Okay, our arrow section needs a button, so we're just going to reference that. Okay. Let's say get code here, and then we could just reference that. And when we reference that, let's now go into our index page, and let's try to start to construct our arrow section. So you know we created an arrow and we referenced it with ID. So let's start here, arrow, and then I'm going to just create a dummy class here. I'll just call it index, and I want it to be a flex, and I'm just going to say align item center, okay? Because I want every item to be aligned center. So here I'm going to use a div, and in the div I'm going to call the class container, okay? And then inside the container I'm going to use another div. The reason why I'm using divs is that I want this section to be well spelled out. I want it to be very, very explicit. Like, I don't want it to be clumsy. I want it to be very explicit. That's why I'm using containers. And the shortcut which I'm using here, padding top, PT means padding top, and I'm giving it 30. I don't want you to bug yourself about all of this right now. We can still write CSS code to reference all of this. It hasn't taken effect like we wanted. Now, if you remember in our code, we have referenced hero and referenced H1. If you look here, in this place, we referenced H1 and H2. You understand that? Now, this is what I'm doing here. This hero, I gave it a class of container, and that's exactly what we referenced here. Okay. So now let's now try to assess some of the things which we've been doing. So I'm just going to say that here now, let's give this another div, and then let me say class, and I'm going to give this column long height. Okay, and because that is height, I'm going to create another div and give it a class of long 4. That's 12. Okay, 4 plus 8, that is 12. That is a full length of your screen. So in here, I'm going to be using an image, the image which we just got. That's what I'm going to be using here in this place. And in this place, I'm going to be using the H1 rev and all of those. Okay, so let me say here, let's call the H1, and let's just put something like travel with ease and flexibility. Let's put that, and let's call another H1 and say we take care of all your travel needs, and let's see how it looks. We'll take care of all your travel needs. Okay, so I don't want to put in any other thing for now. Let's just go to our browser and see how this looks. So this is what we got now. You see, because we're using the H1 class or the H1 tag. So we've got this bold, and you can see that because we gave it a column length of 8, it's not taking the whole of our screen. If we give it a column length of 12, it's going to take the whole of the screen. But now it's not taking the whole of the screen because we only gave it 8. So it's taking just a partial or a part of the screen, which is a good one for us because that's how we want it to be. That's how we want it to look like, you know. So let's continue. Let's try to bring in the image and other stuff so that it can look a little bit more classy. Okay. So let's go back to our IDE and let's try to do some other stuff here. Let's use the P tag here. Let's use the P tag, and we can say that let's just put something, maybe a dummy text. So let's put the ordered list which we included the other time, and we could just list out our services here also and say let's say visa consultation. Let's say ticket booking, and then hotel reservation. Okay, now that we have this here, I would like us to use some buttons also. It's good we include buttons. So I'm going to give it a div too, and then I'll just say, let me try to use a class here and say margin top of just 3, and then I'll just use the aref, and let's close it. Let's close that tag. Yeah, and I'll just say get a code, or talk to an expert, or learn more. Okay, so with this now, here I would like to give this button a class, and the class should be button get started. Okay, button get started, and this one should be button get code. So it's going to be 2 different classes. But before then, let's just check how it looks now. Oh, now you see how it looks. So this is our list, and these are our buttons. They just look dummy, right? Okay, so let's go give it some CSS styling and see what we're gonna get, what we can achieve with this. So let's get back to our IDE, and then here, let me give this hero image because I want us to have an image here. Okay, so let's go into our CSS and try to do some stuff here. So we created 2 buttons, and in this place we're going to reference both buttons now. So let's say that the font weight for the buttons should be lighter. It should not be so bold, and the font size should be about 16 pixels. Let's say that the letter spacing should be 2 pixels. Let's say display should be inline. I want it inline. Okay. And then the padding. Let's give the padding 8 pixels here, 30 pixels here, 9 pixels here, and 30 pixels here. And then let's see the margin bottom. Let's say the border radius. Sorry, there's a mistake mark spelling. I'm not good with that. Border radius should be let's say 5 pixels. Border radius should be 5 pixels, and then the transition could be just 0.5. Okay, and then the border radius sorry, we defined the border radius before, right? So let's just make this the border radius, let's make it 50 pixels, okay? So this is for the get code. So let's do the same for get started. So let's say hero body get started. Okay. And then we're just going to say background. We want the get started to be different from the hero. You get it? So I'm going to say 1455 A4. That's the background color we've been using all the while. Then the color should be white. And then the border. No, I don't want the radius there. I just want the border to be 2 pixels, solid, and the same color with the background. I want the same color with the background. So, and then the margin should be 10 pixels should be fine for now. Let's go to our browser and then refresh our page. And voila, you see the button? It's now looking different, right? Looking just like this. You see that? We've not touched, this is changing on the over. The over makes this change, but here we've not defined an over, so it doesn't change. So let's go do that right now, and let's bring in the image and stuff like that before we come back here to see how it looks. I hope you're learning a few things from this tutorial. Let me hear your views in the comment section. Let us know how you're doing. If you have challenges, we could actually go through your challenges together. Now we're going to define hero again, and then access the button, get started, and give it the over. Now we're going to say the background of the over should be white, okay? Because we already have a background that's a deep blue, navy blue, so the border color, border, and then color should be this, deep blue, and then the text color, which can be referenced to color, should be the deep blue again. So that's for the over of the get started. And then let's now address the get code. Okay, the get code should be what do we do with the get code? Let's see. Get code. Let's address it with a class. Button.getCode. So let's just say that we can give it a color, our favorite color, and then the border can just be 2 pixels, solid, and our favorite color. So let's give it an over, button code over, and then we say background of the over should be our favorite color, and then the color of the text should be white. If we go back to our browser now and try to check on what we've done, you will see that the over is now going to be responding. The hover is now going to be very responsive. The over for both buttons is going to be responsive. But before we go to check out what we've done, I want us to take note of something. Now, I'm going to come here, and then I'll try to make the screen smaller. And then I'll refresh the page, and then we'll see what we've got. You see the over? The over now works. So if we make it like this, the over still works. But one thing I want you to notice is this. On this screen right here, if we make this screen smaller, you will see that everything encompasses, like it stretches out, and we have to scroll. We could actually make everything come in, sitting into this screen. We could make everything sit into the small screen. We could make it very responsive. So that's what we're going to be doing with media queries. We're going to be doing that magic with media queries. So I want you to hang around, just sit back, relax, and enjoy while we work on the media query. You can see now that we are having a good looking website already. So let's go back to our IDE and try to make try to work with some media queries for the hero background, the hero ID which was created already. Let's try to work on some media queries for it to make everything look good. So if you want to work on media, you need to use the hat, and then you just give it main width or main max width, whichever one you want to use. I'm going to be using the main one because I want it to be responsive to smaller screens. So I would say 0, and then I'm just going to declare the background attachments to be fixed. Okay. So after that, I would say media again, and then I'm going to say max width, and I'm going to say hero again. I'll reference it with the class hero image, and then I'll say text align, and it's just going to be center. Okay. Now I'm going to reference it again and say hero image, which ought to be a class, and then I'll reference the image itself, which we're going to be using later on, and I'll say width should be 50%. You're going to see all of this play out once we go back to test our code, but first of all, I want us to run through the code and have an idea of what's going to happen when we run the code. Now I'm going to say 768. These are viewports for our views on different screens. You get it? So I'm going to say H1. I want to address the H1 here. The H1 tag which we have, and I'm going to reduce the font size because it looks too big, and I'll say 30 pixels, and then I'll say the font weight should be bold. Okay. So after that, I'm going to reference hero again, and then this time I'm going to talk to the H2 tag, and I will say the font size for the H2 should be 25 pixels. Okay, and the font weight, we might not address the font weight. Let's just address the margin for this one. So I'm going to say margin bottom should be 30 pixels. Okay, and then I want to address the image also. So I will say hero, and then I'll address the class hero image, and I'm going to say image, and then I'll say width. The image width which you're going to be using for a smaller screen should be just 70%. Now that's going to be for the screen size of 768, and then I want to go to the screen size of the smallest screen size, which is going to be around 575 pixels. So I'm going to say media, and I'm going to say max width. Okay, and the screen size 765 pixels, and then I'm just going to say, I'm going to reference this and say hero text, the line is going to be left. Okay, and then hero UL, our list, the list item is going to be text aligned to left, and the font size, let's make it 16 pixels. Okay, and then the font weight should be bolder. Okay, on smaller screens, it should be more visible. Okay, so let's address the hero again and say hero image, and I'm going to address the image itself, and I'm going to say the width here should be 80%. Okay, and the last but not the least, I'm going to address the hero, and I'll address the button, get started, comma, and then hero again, button, get code, and then I'm just going to define the padding, and let's say 18 pixel. Let's use this as padding left, so there's going to be some space between them. So padding left, 18 pixel. Let's say padding right. Okay, let's say font size. Oh, sorry. Font size. Let's say 14 pixel. Okay, so here I want to say right. Right here. So now I want us to bring in an image into the hero. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in image with the V index, and I will say width. I want it to be 100%. I would say height. Let's make it 100 VH. Let's say background image now. Let's reference our background image. And how I'm going to reference this is a bit funny, but you have to follow up. I'm just going to use the URL tag, the URL property, and it's very easy. Just reference it like this, and then you go into the folder, assets, and then you just call the name of that image, assets, which is in the assets folder. You have images, and then you have slider1.jpg. Okay, so let's see if this works. Let's see what we've got here, if the image is actually going to attend to us or not. So let's refresh our page. Everything is saved and looking good. Let's refresh our page. Okay, so let's see. Okay, you can see now that when the screen is smaller, all of these has changed, right? But the only thing left is we've not worked on the NavBar for the smaller screen. For our NavBar, we've not worked on it. So we're going to go back and work on our NavBar. But for this part, for the hero part, you can see that the hero part is changing. So if the size of the screen is changing, you can see that the text also changes with it. You see that? So that's what media query does for you. Okay? So let's